You are listening to Sex Afflictions and Porn Addictions, and I am your host, Craig Perra, from the website www.themindfulhabit.com. I'm the founder of the Mindful Habit System, and this is a podcast to help you create healthy sexuality and a great life. And I am very, very excited I'm excited for every podcast. I'm excited for this one because I've got a very special guest with me. My brother from another mother is here. And today, George and I are going to be talking about the 5 lies and 5 hidden truths about recovery, because if I've learned anything in helping people for the past 8 years, that things are not what they seem. And we're going to cover what I hope is going to be some very interesting things today. But first, let me introduce my guest. George and I have been connected for almost 7 years. George came to me at a terribly low point, suicidal, wife had left, on his mother's couch. That's been the theme, from the couch, where it all started. Sex, drugs, porn. Now he's a certified mindful habit coach. He's been one for 5 years. He's an MSW candidate. Ultimately ended up divorced, was able to save his relationship. So he brings that very, very powerful perspective to the Mindful Habit program. George, welcome, brother.
Thank you, man. So glad to be here, brother. Thank you for having me, man.
Well, listen, the Mindful Habit wouldn't be what it is without you. And that is the God's honest truth. See, because I got an eye for talent. I got to tell you, I got an eye for talent. And I knew here I am, I'm talking to this guy. He's at this low point, and I just hear this passion. I could feel it when you guys know I go off on my rants and my tangents, and I could feel this man's passion. And I didn't know that we'd be working together, but I knew he'd be helping people, and so blessed to have him on our team. So I love this theme today, George, about the 5 lies and hidden truths about recovery, because I think there's a lot of bad information out there. I think there's a lot of well-intentioned information that isn't serving people. So let's jump right in. Where do you want to start? Let's go with the 5 lies and 5 hidden truths about recovery.
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and break this down. Number 5, for my men out there listening right now. Let's start with the lie. What is the number 5 lie? That is, because I was so selfish with my behaviors, everything that I must do in my recovery must be that much selfless, meaning that I'm doing the recovery for my wife, I'm doing it for my kids, I'm doing it for my job. And I got to tell you, brothers, that, again, Craig mentioned it before, I've been working with you with Mindful Habits for 5 years. I've been in recovery since June 27th of 2013. And in that time, I have crossed that entire span, as well as a lot of other you guys have. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are watching right now because of what's happening at home with your wife, with your kids. But the real truth about this is that this isn't about you being less selfish in your recovery. I equate this a lot to being on a diet. If you went to your doctor and you was 500 pounds obese, there isn't a single doctor on the planet that says because you ate so poorly in the past, now you have to stop eating for the next 3 months. Nobody's ever going to tell you that. The reality is that they'll tell you the same thing about your behaviors with recovery, the same thing about your behaviors and your diet, is that you need to keep a diet. Yes, it was unhealthy beforehand. However, now you still need a diet. It just needs to be what? Healthy. Instead of the fried foods, the ice cream, you need carrots, celery, tons of water. It's about being healthy. And we tend to lose that right when we're starting out in recovery. We think this has to be for everybody else. Listen, I've been there. Craig just told you guys, I'm a father of 3 kids. I am divorced right now. And as a matter of fact, one of the main proponents that made me commit to being a part of the Mindful Habit program for recovery was that, guess what? I found more porn in my oldest son's phone at age 13 than I had in my laptop at age 33. And when I'm getting ready to rip him a new one about what he's doing, the reality is I was like, look, he learned this from me. So the initial thought was, wow, I have to do this in order for him. Now, we're going to circle back around to this. But
we're going to come to the truth. I just want to crystallize this because this is so important. I try to weed out men in my program who are doing it just for their partners. And there's a reason why, is because I don't want to take someone's money if it's not going to work for them. And the chances of it working for that guy is way, way, way less for a whole bunch of different reasons. And so the lie is, because I was so selfish, because selfishness is what brought me here, I can't be selfish going forward. We're going to talk about the truth right now. This is one of my favorite ones. George, give us the truth, please.
Here's the truth, guys. The truth is, you as an individual cannot control another person's response to your behaviors, number one. And even more importantly, you can't control how they're going to manage their trauma. Our behavior brings about trauma in those that we love. So because you're choosing to go about a certain course of life now, that doesn't automatically mean that you have this giant ripple effect that, well, if I do this, then it benefits and I keep my wife and I keep my kids and I keep my job. The life is going to be how it's going to be, whether you're in recovery or you're not in recovery. The only difference that we need to pay attention to is that, can you approach recovery with the same energy that you had with your behavior? That doesn't need to be any less directed. We need to know that when you're coming into the program, and Craig said it correctly, I was the guy that thought Craig was crazy for doing that kind of stuff when I first started coaching. I was all about trying to get a guy in regardless of where the motivation came from. But much like Craig has spoken, we've worked with far too many men that don't finish out the work because they joined for a reason besides themselves. So what does that mean? They join the program because they're white, because a discovery or an exposure was made by their spouse, significant other, and their mindset says, well, in order to keep my home, I now need to do this. And guess what happens? Unfortunately, they leave. I'm talking to you guys as a divorced man right now. I was separated when I went through the Mindful Habit program. Wasn't divorced. As a matter of fact, that was part of the conditions. Like, hey, listen, you get the help, then we can think about bringing this union back together. And the reality is that me and my ex-wife grew together closer in multiple ways. We probably have a better relationship today than we did being married. But guys, we're not married. We're simply not married. My children are spread out. I'm lucky that I have one of my kids here with me. My daughter's on the other side of the country. My oldest son is at the bottom end in Florida right now in the country. So for me to make the statement that says I'm going through recovery to keep my family together, that's not the idea behind this. Because the reality is, men, is that your recovery can't control anybody else's destination. If they're going to make that choice, they are going to make that choice. We tell people all the time that we cannot guarantee you will be a better husband because we don't know what that's going to look like. And we can't guarantee you're going to be a better father because we don't know what that's going to look like. But we can guarantee that by you focusing on you and being a better person, then you can begin to affect some change that you want to have in your life. You cannot be unselfish in your recovery.
No, and as we tell people, George knows this, is we want you to be good selfish. That's the truth. The truth is that if you want to be successful, you've got to want it for you. And when you want it for you, that opens up a whole bunch of doors that weren't there when you were doing it for someone else, and that resentment is building. So that truth bomb is, your recovery needs to be selfishly about you. It must be about you. There's no new relationship if there's no new you. That's the truth. Let's take it to the next lie, brother.
Next lie is that all I have to do is change the habit. I want to let that echo for you guys. All I have to do is change the habit. A lot of you all are watching right now saying, teach me how to stop this one thing so that my life becomes better. And
unfortunately, stop watching porn. Just gonna stop going to massage parlors. If I could only stop watching porn and going to massage parlors, I'm gonna be okay.
Mm-hmm. If I can stop going to Craigslist or stop seeking out prostitutes or stop with this, then my life all of a sudden becomes better, guys. And you know what? Again, sorry to tell you, that's a lie. And here's why that's a lie. Is because your one habit has had a rippling effect throughout your life. Your habit impacted your career, your finances, your emotional, your mental and physical health. It impacted your hobbies and it impacted your relationships. And for a lot of us out here, it impacted our spirituality. So what that really means is that the habit impacted what? Your life. So this isn't about changing your habit. This is about changing your lifestyle.
That's the truth right there. That's the truth.
Porn. That's it. It's not about being able to take out porn, but you still talk shitty to your partner. This isn't about getting rid of sex, but you still got an unhealthy diet. This isn't about stopping this. I mean, think about it, men. If you got a $1,200 a month habit around pornography and around sex and prostitution, if you took that one habit and plucked it out, now you got to deal with the reality that you got to better manage your money because you got an extra $1,200 sitting there in the account. What are you going to do with it? How does that look? You're going to have extra amount of time on your hands to use in a more constructive place. What does that look like now for your relationships, for your career, for your hobbies, for your spirituality? Getting rid of this habit also means that we're going to have to break some shame walls down. So when you do that, then how does that impact your emotional health? How does it impact your mental health? How does that impact these other areas around you? You have to stop thinking that all I got to do is get rid of the habit. That's like saying I can eat all the fatty foods I want as long as I decide to take my butt to the gym. No health practitioner or gym coach or trainer will ever say that's the key. They're going to say, listen, the reality is as much as you think you got to come to the gym, your nutrition is also going to play a huge part in this. Your mindset going to work out is going to play a huge part in this. Your circle that you have around you, your relationships are going to play a tremendous part in this. It is not about plucking out the habit and moving on with your life. This is about making a decision to not just change a habit, but your lifestyle.
Beautiful, George. And just to comment on that, as I always do, you know me, guys, I got to comment on everything. To break a habit, you have to make a habit. So I want you to think of your behavior as the symptom. And this is true for so many of you men who found me from doing incredible work for so long in your 12-step world. And such a wonderful place, such a place of healing. And my concern is that it keeps the symptom at the center. And when someone comes to me and says that they are a porn addict or they are a sex addict, let's unpack that for a second. That means that they have low self-control. That means they have low self-awareness, don't know why they do what they do not have clarity on what their needs are, and don't know how to get them met in a healthy, constructive way. They lack empathy. They have an incredible ability to compartmentalize, oh yeah, and their sexuality is unhealthy, and they're lacking purpose. So by you stopping the behavior, that's a great step. I'm proud of you and I applaud you. It is only a teeny tiny fraction of the opportunity that the crisis that brought you here provides for you, and that is to change your life. Awesome truth, George. Thank you so much. Let's go. What's next?
Number three, and I'm still hitting home for a lot of the men who are thinking about this change and may have started the change. The lie, recovery is a destination to reach. Think about that. Recovery is a destination to reach. A lot of people, we see people almost every day, Craig, that come into our program, and their mindset is that once I finish the program, then my recovery is complete. That once I make it through this coursework, they almost treat recovery like it's a degree program. Like you just somehow went to college or to night school right now, and it's like, as long as I show up, I'm going to end up with this degree at the end, and I can hang this up on my wall and move on to the next part of my life. Men, I'm here to tell you right now that is an absolute bold-faced lie that we tell ourselves to minimize the work that we have to do in recovery, men. Here's the reality. The reality is that recovery is a journey. It is not a destination. It is a journey. And I say that in several veins. We're talking here, you guys, this is the porn sex addiction channel we're looking at right now. But I work with men who deal with addictions in other areas of their life. And guess what? Recovery is a continual, ongoing process. And you want to know why? Because life changes. Plain and simple, men. What you're triggered by today, what you think is the worst thing that you have to overcome today, you're going to be met, guaranteed. I want to repeat this, guaranteed. You are going to have another traumatic or intense trigger that will hit you somewhere down the line simply because your life has shifted. If you're a parent right now and you got a toddler at home, you got triggers with the toddler, wait till that guy goes off to school and you got triggers there. Wait till they get a job, they start driving, they're out of the house. Wait till your wife is in a different stage of her life, different triggers. Guys, you have to understand, this world is about the triggers that are driving your behavior. For you to think there's going to be a destination where you can put your life on cruise control and no longer have to be mindful of how the triggers are attacking your body, attacking your thoughts in your mind, it is a complete bold-faced lie that you are telling yourself to minimize your recovery efforts.
Yeah, self-serving commercial break. Ladies and gentlemen, the entire mindful habit system is designed to teach you how to, I'll say it a few different ways, to counterbalance your crazy, to make new habits, to proactively manage your powerful sexual energy, recognizing that you will get triggered, you will fail, you will get triggered in ways that you haven't even imagined yet, and you're gonna experience pain and loss. I wish everyone listening to this audio, I wish that you have already experienced your worst pain and your greatest loss. But that ain't true.
Not true.
And I don't want to be a buzzkill. I like to deal in reality. Excellent, excellent, excellent truth. It is a journey. And listen, back to that lifestyle change. One of our clients asked me on a group coaching call, Craig, how do I stay motivated in recovery? And here's what I said. And I went on a little bit of a mini rant here. And I said, stop calling it recovery. Recovery is fucking boring. Create a great life for yourself. Find your purpose. Unleash the dragon. Find yourself. Be your best self. Honor rigorous self-care, rooted in self-love. And so there's a status quo that exists in my world. There's a circle of complacency around I'm sober. And in my program, whenever anybody declares whatever length of time they're sober, I don't care if it was 30 minutes or 30 days or years, they must be followed with why. Why have you been successful? And that's the part that gets lost. And that's what keeps people stuck in recovery, waiting to get to this end, because everybody who has failed, here's where I'm going to leave you guys on until we move on to the next one. Every single man that has failed, every single one, stopped doing the things that made them successful. Think about that. Every single one. So this is about not stopping doing the things that make you successful. Take George, let's give us the next one.
Next one, brothers. All right, guys. The lie. The world and life will adjust to your recovery. Isn't that such a wonderful thought there, man? That because I made the decision for me to get better, the entire world and all of my life is now going to change so that my recovery somehow is what? Easier. It's less hard. My wife is going to talk to me nice. My kids are now going to respect me and not run all crazy through the home. Sounds like such a wonderful thought. Sounds like an absolute lie. We just talked about this before the call started. Both me and Craig, we have both been nicotine smokers in our past. And Craig, I'm pretty sure you, like me, particularly having a wife and kids at home, you have had that moment where you was like, okay, I'm going to quit smoking today. And the moment we decide to quit smoking, we feel the entire world just went apeshit. It's like at the moment I decide to quit smoking, my kids want to go crazy in the house. The moment I decide to quit smoking, my wife wants to have an argument with me or have this crazy discussion with me. The moment I decide to quit smoking, I got the asshole boss and I got the asshole coworker. Why can't you guys understand? I'm trying to quit smoking. Guys, that's not the deal. Life still goes. The world still spins. Seasons still happen. The people around you don't get the memo that says, hey, because you decided to finally, and I'm going to echo that real quick, finally decide to seek recovery, that all of a sudden the world now shifts on your spin now. So when you decide to stop spinning to deal with recovery, you're thinking the entire world somehow stops spinning. Men, that's not the truth. The truth is that the world doesn't stop or wait for your recovery. Man, I need you all to understand that and hear that. How many times have you been in the fetal position because of shame, because of guilt, because of discoveries, because of exposures, and you want to bury your head in the damn sand like you're an ostrich? And guess what? You get out that sand, you get out the fetal position, you decide to re-engage your life, but guess what? Life never stopped. The wife still had to get up and get the kids to school. The job still had to move on. I remember being in such a bad state that I did the exact same thing. I got up after about a week, went back to my job. My job said, you must be here to pick up your last check. I said, no, I'm here to find out what my hours are. You don't have a job here anymore. What do you mean I don't have a job anymore? I was going through something. Well, number one, you didn't communicate what you was going through. And number two, that's you going through it. We still have a business. Life, believe it or not, it's a business. That's why it can seem cold and calculated sometimes. It can seem uncaring and unfeeling about it sometimes, because life still goes about the business of life. The trees outside didn't stop growing. The cells we have don't stop moving. But because you made a decision, you're thinking that because it will be easier if everything shut down when you shut down. That's not what happens here, man. Nothing stops and waits for you during your recovery.
Yeah, thank you, George. And the piece that I'd like to add to that is, here's a lens that I want you to have, or that I encourage you to have as you navigate your journey and challenge is, you know, however you manage whatever crisis, whatever challenge you're going through right now, however you manage this one is how you're going to manage the next one. So let's do the reverse. Instead of, I'm going to do it right next time. Instead of, you know what, fuck it, this time, whatever. But next time I'm gonna, do the things I know I'm supposed to do because I think I deserve it, and whatever. Think about it this way. Every field of self-help has some concept around, whether it's the Four Noble Truths in Buddhism, whether it's the oft-quoted phrase from the military, embrace the suck. You will be challenged. You will experience failures and losses, and how you navigate them is ultimately the success that you're going to have. Forget about whether or not you're jerking off and watching Pixels. I'm talking about in life. Next.
That's it, brother. That's it. All right, let's bring this bad boy home. The last, but definitely not the least. What is the lie? That recovery is a team sport. I want you to really hear that for a minute. That recovery is a team sport. Guys, let's be honest right now. I don't care if you're looking at a billboard in the subway or a sign somewhere or a commercial advertisement about recovery. It looks fucking beautiful. Excuse my language. It looks beautiful though. Like, you see people, you see sunny skies, you see people all around helping somebody, you hear all of this support that's happening right now. But the lie that's in that is that it's a team sport, as if everybody combined around you is what's going to help you get the win. Here's the real deal, man. Recovery is an individual sport masked as a team sport. So if you got to put it in real context right now, think about tennis, think about golf, think about wrestling. That's my personal sport of preference. The real wrestling, like collegiate wrestling, not WWE guys. And what do we see in those things? Ultimately, it's one person that has to swing the racket, swing the golf club, or make the pin. It doesn't matter if that person has the world's best trainers, the best athletes, statisticians behind them. They got all the research, the marketing guys behind them, the whole nine. They still got to go out and make the play. They got to serve it right. They got to do the right putt. They got to get the right move in it. Guys, the same thing with recovery. I tell my guys all the time, The reality is this. We've given you a forum. We've given you a great platform. You have opportunities to engage with us one-on-one as people us in a group dynamic. But if you went home and you decided to relapse, guess what happens to me? Nothing. Not a daggone thing. I'm not going to relapse because you relapse. That's you. So it's good to think about this great team, but at the end of the day, it's still going to come back to you. You go home and decide to relapse. What does that mean for the men on the call? Nothing. They stay exactly where they were. What does that mean for the forum? Like, you decide to relapse and then the forum breaks down and our platform goes away. No, it doesn't. We're just part of the pieces for you. We're really nothing more than a well-tightened bolt in the engine of your car. That's really about it. At the end of the day, you got to drive that bad boy. We don't give you driving instructions and none of that kind of stuff. This is you behind the wheel. We're trying to help you operate the vehicle better, this vehicle that you have of your life. But if you decide while driving, no matter how tight the bolts are, no matter how gassed up, no matter how well the oil is changed, if you decide to run your car off a cliff, that don't mean nothing about the mechanic. It don't come back to the mechanic. It don't come back to the dealership. It doesn't come back to where you went and got the great white wall tires. It goes back to the driver said, I'm done driving. I drove off a cliff. The driver fell asleep, so we got an accident. The driver wasn't mindful and didn't see the other car coming, and you had the accident. This is what recovery is, man. You can't fall asleep behind the wheel in recovery because you got to drive. You can't afford to not be mindful thinking that this car is going to automatically go right now. And trust me, recovery is not a Tesla. It is not something you can flip a switch and say, now you do the driving for me while I take a quick nap because everything seems nice and safe. It ain't like that. Your recovery is like driving a 1970-something Pinto. One wrong move and you're going to blow up. Plain and simple. You're the one that's behind this wheel driving.
What I like about this is, and listen, there's a part of me in the background saying, wait, the power of groups and teams are incredible. Just knowing how powerful we've seen, our community rally around a guy who's stumbled, but so all true. And what George said, at the end of the day, it's you managing. Let me borrow a quote from one of my favorite modalities. Is you're the CEO of your internal family system. Right? That's how I encourage you guys to think about your life. You've got all these parts. Forget about the parts outside of you, just the parts inside of you. And those parts need to be proactively managed. In fact, I teach and say repeatedly, there's no success. Let me tell you, Scott, I'm going to tell you a story. Someone recently shared, this happens all the time. Someone shared, when I was young, I touched my brother. When I was young, I had a sexual experience with a neighbor. And oh my God, when somebody shares that, the feelings of the levity that it provides, and you may not have that, but you think about, maybe you've realized something about your childhood that had a massive impact. Like, that's so important, and it is such a necessary step. It is a prerequisite. It is a must-do step. But it's only a step. And what I call those moments, and oh my God, I remember this thing that happened. It was so terrible. It was so impactful in my life. It feels like that awareness is going to give to me this gift of never acting out again. And it doesn't work like that. Why? Not because you're a bad person, because we're creatures of habit. And I call those big moments that many of you have had in therapy, in counseling, on your own, reading, in the program, fireworks. Woo, they're big and powerful. You got tears coming down your face. You've never connected with that part of you. And it's so big and so powerful and so beautiful. But it fades really, really fast, because that act alone isn't enough to, back to what we talked about before, interrupting, counterbalancing the habits and belief systems that grew from your lifetime of experience in response to that event. So you proactively managing these wounded parts that have a tendency to lie, to compartmentalize, to shut down, to get angry, to act out sexually, that's success. So excellent, George. Thank you so much.
Not a problem at all, brother. Not a problem at all, man. And you touched on so many great points with that, man. And again, I want to be very clear about this. You said it in the beginning of your response. Look, we have the amount of support that our men get from our community. I'm going to jump out there and just say it. It is unheralded. I don't know of a better group of men that come together around such sensitive issues and materials to hear the type of struggles that our men are going through on a consistent daily basis. And when our men share these things and they are finally reach a space of being open enough to break through the shame to discuss these things, we circle around them like almost like that scene out of Fast and Furious. Like it's like everybody surrounds that one guy to prevent all this extra damage from coming his way. But again, when the call is over and you leave the group, it's you that still has to carry out everything that you just got. You know, it's almost like, you know, we have this saying sometimes that you just can't be hyped on Tuesday from the Sunday sermon, particularly if you don't remember what the Sunday sermon was. So what does that mean? You go to church, you hoop and holler, you get caught up in the excitement and the energy that's there. You don't even know what's really happening. And you feel so great walking out of church. And then Monday comes around and there's no church family around you. And you're trying to remember what the heck you just was so excited about when now you're faced with your life on Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. And before you know it, you're in this space where you're like, I just got to make it to Sunday. And you are just like on borrowed time until then. And no, that's not what that process is about either. We don't, that's not how this recovery game works in any aspect. So it's not about how great we are, just not so in this totality, about how great we are and coming around you and giving you that energy to continue in the midst of such a traumatic moment. It's about how do you take that and then carry it, and you learn to utilize it, manipulate it, let it work for you over the course of time. Guys, that's where real recovery comes in. And let me tell you right now, let's call it what it is. This is where you start putting on your big boy pants. Like, let's go away and be honest right now about some things. There's a lot of areas in your past that you can pinpoint to say that your trauma was a team sport. I experienced the trauma because of mom, dad, brother, babysitter, school, bully, whatever the situation is. Cool, we can give you that. But the reality is the recovery, your mama and daddy may never own up to it. Brother and sister may never own up to it. The bully may always be a bully. What brought you that trauma may never come to the point of saying, I'm sorry for bringing you trauma. And guess what? It's now individual. Now it's just about you. And you got to own that coming into this. You seeking recovery is not about making somebody else seek amends with you. You seeking recovery is because you've decided that, you know what, despite what others may have done to you in your past, you are making the sole decision for yourself to be in a better space, to live your best life, to live life to the absolute fullest.
I could not have said it better myself. Thank you so much, George. So amazingly proud of the community, and listen, I'm so proud of me. I'm so proud of George. I'm so proud of the amazing work these guys are doing. George, there's a couple of different ways that people can get in touch with you. Please tell us how.
Absolutely. Number one, listen, I'm a vocal guy, as you all can tell, right? So pick up the phone, 443-600-9169. Shoot me a text, give me a call. It's my personal line. Same number momma calls me on. Number two, shoot me an email. Maybe you're not ready for the actual phone call. Shoot me an email. Email me at george@themindfulhabits.com. george@themindfulhabit.com. Now, for those of you guys who are in some space of taking some action, number one, I'll start off with a gift. I have a gift for each and every one of you guys watching right now. There's a link below where you can get a free copy of my book, of my journey in going through my porn addictions and being able to come out on the other side, all of what it took place, and what were some of the key lessons I learned through my own recovery. My book is called Habitland: Your Entry, Your Residency, and Your Exodus. There's a link at the bottom. You will receive a free copy of my book. Complete the link. The only thing you're going to be accountable for is just going to be shipping and handling. Just shipping and handling. You guys get a free book. First step of action, guys. Number two, you're also going to see a link that will directly connect you guys to our Mindful Habit platform. If you're really ready to make that change, guys, and I know a lot of you are doing this podcast, you're listening right now, you're in that space of making a change. Click the link below, get access to us right now, get in the onboarding calls, get in the group calls, get involved with the community that is changing men's lives globally. I wouldn't believe I wasn't a part of it. We change men's lives globally.
Yeah, man, it is. It's awesome. It's awesome to be on the phone with a guy in Iraq, to be on the phone with a brother from Pakistan. Like guys, it's amazing. It's such an unbelievable community. And if you want George, to have your back, to have his support, to have you, in that voice in your head, then please reach out to him. You can reach out to me through the website. You don't have to wait, but thank you so much for listening. It means so much to me that you guys are getting value. I've got an exciting, podcast schedule coming up, and I'm really excited to go into 2020 and to blow up in a really specific, deliberate way, some truths, just like we did today, and drill down into some of these issues. One of them being the behavior is the symptom. And we're going to talk about that in a few weeks in terms of what that really means. So thank you on behalf of the entire Mindful Habit team, George, Adrian, me, and Sandy, and of course, my beautiful wife, Michelle. Embrace your power of choice. Happy Valentine's Day, because it's Valentine's Day when we recorded this. Love yourselves. Peace. Bye, everybody.
Later, brothers.